on the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. This is the first multi-state functioning carbon market in the nation. And one of the governor's other first action office was to join the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. It's a pact of a number of the Northeast states who have together put in place a cap on carbon emissions from the power sector. And all reports are that the market is functioning very well and as anticipated. Massachusetts, like just about every other RGGI state, is auctioning a portion of the carbon allowances to the regulated community. And we've had 5 or 6 very successful auctions right now that have generated tens of millions of dollars in carbon revenues that the Green Communities Act directs to the state and directs specifically to investment largely in energy efficiency. And we are actually already seeing that money put to work, making buildings all across the Commonwealth more energy efficient. So we feel that's a very significant success story and hopefully an effective model for federal policy. And we know that our delegation in Washington and a lot of the lead policymakers in the administration and in Congress are keeping a close eye on that and are learning from the experiences there. I mentioned the Green Communities Division. This is something we're particularly proud of. We, along with our partners in the legislature, have heard a lot over the years from municipal leaders, officials, staff who have dramatic energy challenges, as you know. Very tight budgets, fluctuating costs, and all kinds of other pressures on municipal budgets. Lots of outdated buildings and old equipment, and very few resources to tackle the problems. So we are very proud to have within DOER this new division whose mission, as I said, is solely to partner with cities and towns and help them tackle their energy challenges. And hopefully, it's a fairly new division. We've had a new director there for a number of months now, Mark Sylvia. Hopefully you've seen the fruits of their labor in interactions with the Green Communities Division team. We just added 4 regional staffers, one of them based out in this area, who we hope will be able to partner with cities and towns and help them tackle their energy challenges, work on energy assessments, work on identifying other resources available to help make smarter energy investments. And there are obviously some synergies with stimulus funds that are coming into the state. So I'll say a few words about that later. One of the other policy changes worth mentioning is the Global Warming Solutions Act, another piece of legislation that I mentioned earlier, passed by the legislature in 2008. The Global Warming Solutions Act, in a sense, takes RGGI one step further. It puts in place a cap on greenhouse gas emissions economy-wide, not just the power sector, as in the RGGI case, but all sources of greenhouse gas emissions. And it sets very aggressive targets for greenhouse gas emissions reductions in the long term. The Act calls for 80% reductions in greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. That's basically what most people in the scientific community have concluded the U.S. will need to hit in order to avoid the worst impacts of climate change, the most dramatic sea level rise, the wildest fluctuations in temperature and weather, and so on. And then the Act requires our Secretariat to set interim targets for 2020, 30, 40. And this is just a representation of greenhouse gas emissions in the Commonwealth from all sources in the past, and then several projections based on various assumptions and scenarios about what will happen with greenhouse gas emissions going forward. This statute is actually being implemented through a partnership of agencies across the Secretariat involving DOER, the Department of Environmental Protection, which is the lead agency, and just about every other agency in the Secretariat, obviously collaborating across secretariats with the transportation folks and others. For those of you in the power sector, I think you probably know that the power sector is sort of ahead of the curve in tackling greenhouse gas emissions relative to other sectors of the economy. And I suppose you should know that this is a regulatory process that is going to take some time to run its course. There's an advisory council set up of business and environmental and other leaders from across the Commonwealth that's meeting periodically now to help shape the policy. The DEP, in conjunction with the all the other partner agencies, has gone through several comment periods about various elements of the plan, and will be coming out with a draft plan in a number of months, which will then go through a full, robust public comment period before the plan is finalized. But obviously, we are all going to be looking for, sort of what are the other policy solutions and practices that we can put in place that will enable us to hit these longer-term climate targets. You probably are all very familiar with the Renewable Portfolio Standard. Massachusetts was one of the first states to adopt a Renewable Portfolio Standard. There are more than a dozen states that have now adopted similar policies, and obviously a similar policy has been discussed occasionally in Washington. Requires an increasing percentage of our electric power to come from renewable sources. And the Green Communities Act extended the Renewable Portfolio Standard into the future and sort of fixed the targets beyond where they had been fixed before. And we believe there's very good news here in that we are now meeting the RPS targets in Massachusetts with actual generation, and that's what this chart shows. That in 2007, nearly all of the compliance obligation was met with actual generation from renewable energy facilities, as opposed to in some of the prior years where there were, some of the compliance came from banked credits and other sources. So we believe that we are getting on track to meet and exceed the goals of the Renewable Portfolio Standard, which obviously means we are seeing more wind turbines and biomass facilities and other renewable energy generating sources come online in the region. And we look forward to continued progress there. Another policy worth mentioning and that we're very proud of is the Alternative Portfolio Standard, which was also put in place by the Green Communities Act. It parallels the Renewable Portfolio Standard, but is targeted at other kinds of generation. We went through a long regulatory process to develop the goals and the requirements for the Alternative Portfolio Standard, and have announced those final regulations a while back, and just come out with the application guidance for facilities who want to qualify to get credits as under the APS. And as I understand from our staff on this, almost overnight we received applications for about half of the goal that is set, the requirement that is set by the Alternative Portfolio Standard. And most of the applications are from combined heat and power, or CHP, project proposals. And I'm sure many of you know that CHP in the right applications is a great way to manage energy costs, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and improve overall system efficiencies. So we're very excited to see those projects and others like them move forward. Let me spend a few minutes on what has become my favorite subject, energy efficiency. I think one of the really significant directional changes in the Green Communities Act was the commitment by the legislature to require investor-owned utilities to procure all cost-effective efficiency, or to, they put in place a least cost supply mandate. So what does that mean? Well, you're in the business, so you know that there is a known supply cost. This is cost of cents per kilowatt hour over the last several years, 5, 6, 7, 8 cents per kilowatt hour. Because of the, as I mentioned earlier, solid foundation of making smart energy choices in Massachusetts, we have a track record of running energy efficiency programs operated over the last couple of decades in Massachusetts by the investor-owned utilities, both on electric and gas. And on the electric side, that track record demonstrates delivery of savings at a lower price than the cost of equivalent supply. And the legislature, I think, looked at those facts and looked at our energy and climate and economic circumstances in 2008 and said, well, let's shift our priorities. If we know that we can save energy more cheaply than the supply option, we should be doing that. So they did put in place a requirement that investor-owned utilities knock on all of our doors and help us save energy before going out and buying supply to meet additional demand.